I'm Roy Lee Lindsay with the North Carolina Pork Council, and I want everyone to remember bacon makes everything better.
This is the fifth quarter on the North Carolina Sports Network. Mike Waddell, along with the coach, Jim Collins, and we're talking about college football here in the bold North State. It doesn't get any more bold, my man, than NC State against the Duke Blue Devils.
Michael, that may have been the worst offensive production from two teams that I've witnessed in the modern era of college football. Duke was 0 of 9 on third down, and the Wolfpack was, I cannot begin to express the lack of productivity from the Wolfpack. I mean, you can't turn it over. You can't get penalties, man. I'm telling you. It's tough day for the Wolfpack, no doubt. Manny's done a hell of a job. He's managed this team. He brought in the right players. They fit the system. They fit what he wants to do. They are let's go back. Let's use this word we've used the last couple of weeks. They have fit the Duke culture, and they have merged together, and they've done a wonderful job of finding a way to win games, and they don't have an abundance of penalties. They don't beat themselves. So Blue Devils are playing well, man. They may very well win 8 or 9 games. It would not shock me at all.
East Carolina went through a little bit of a midseason shakeup as Blake Harrell now is the interim head coach for the Pirates down in Greenville. They opened up the weekend on Thursday against Florida Atlantic, and this one was all purple. Boy, the Pirates look good, 49-14. Jim, when you have a midseason coaching change, and then all of a sudden a team that was really struggling against some bad teams, the last 2 games, they have looked pretty good. And if you're Blake Harrell, you have to feel like, hey, you might have an honest shot at getting the head coaching job at East Carolina. What do you think?
Well, he's done a hell of a job the last 2 weeks, and he's allowed their offensive staff to go make plays for them, and they've played well on defense. And Blake is a longtime associate. I've known Blake a long time. He's a very enthusiastic, very well-prepared football coach. The way this thing tracks down the road for the Pirates will be very interesting. But they've played some teams that have been just okay. FAU is a struggling football program right now, and the Pirates got after their ass as well as anybody has all year. I'm going to stop short of saying what I actually feel at this point.
Come on, say it, Jim.
But sometimes change is good for everybody, and I, to be honest with you, and I'm not going to be negative about Mike Houston, but sometimes change is for the better, and when it doesn't fit at times, a new breath of fresh air is sometimes what motivates a team. And brings progress to them. So I'm excited for where the Pirates are right now. They have a chance to finish strong, no doubt.
Michael Berard, Managing Director Investments with the Founders Group at Stifel, works with a select group of high net worth individuals and institutions to develop and implement investment plans tailored to their specific objectives and risk tolerances. If you are interested in highly personalized, well-researched guidance and outstanding personal service, you can contact Michael at 984-364-2002. That's 984-364-2002. Stiefel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE. The Original Salt Works has become a legendary breakfast, brunch, and lunch place in Wilmington for both locals and out-of-town visitors over the last 50-plus years. Our good friend Bob Hubbard owns the place, but he's also the one cooking your food and often roaming the dining room to greet you with a smile and to make sure your visit is a great one. Bob has been running the show at this unique roadside diner for more than 20 years now, and he and his friendly, hardworking staff aim to treat you like one of their own. Try Bob's homemade omelets, or special recipe grits for breakfast, or his legendary cheeseburgers for lunch. The Original Salt Works, your breakfast and lunch choice on Oleander Drive in Wilmington.
The fifth quarter rolls on here on the North Carolina Sports Network. Mike Waddell, along with the coach, Jim Collins, and the editor-in-chief of North Carolina Football News.com, Eric Lusk, with us again this week. We'll talk about the Fabulous 15 and coming up. And right now, I would find no hotter team in either Carolinas right now than the Bulldogs of Wingate, Eric Lusk. They are looking really strong under a first-year head coach.
Yeah, definitely. They continue to have the same kind of script, just that defense. It's one of the best in the nation against the run, one of the best in the nation against the pass, one of the best in the nation against, keeping people out of the end zone. Third shutout this season came against Newberry, 38-0. They're doing all the things they need to do. Earlier in the week, they were put on top of the region rankings, which kind of determines, what the playoff brackets will look like. I imagine they'll be there probably on top again this week. So, they play Saturday for the conference championship against Carson Newman, the only team that beat them this year. Carson Newman scored 31. So I think it's going to be a little bit different this time around. I think Wingate, they'll have a little something for them.
One of the big feel-good stories early in this 2024 season was down in Charlotte at Johnson C. Smith, but over the last couple of weeks, since the Bulls started to get some of that big-time love on ESPN College Game Day, the bottom has fallen out for the Golden Bulls. That was a tough one, losing to Livingstone over the weekend.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's your oldest rival. It's an HBCU rivalry that dates back to like the 1890s. Win that one, they're in the championship game. They're probably going to the playoffs, regardless of how the championship game would turn out. Now it looks like their season's over. Maybe an outside shot to getting in the playoffs. Most people I talk to say they probably don't think that's going to happen. But that's just really tough just to see it kind of go up in smoke like that. The last 2 weeks, just couldn't score at all against Fayetteville State. Only managed 10 points against Livingston. I think both those teams figure out how to defend the Golden Bulls. And we'll remember years from now, it'll feel a lot better, but I'm sure right now, it's got to hurt knowing that you were the toast of the town for so long.
When you talk about defense, you got to talk about the Phoenix at Elon and the continued hex that Tony Trisciani has on William and Mary, 40-36, a come from behind. The Phoenix, they're starting to make something happen for Tony here in the later part of 2024.
Michael, rising from the ashes, without a doubt. And what a great last two drives. Drew Fulmer, the offensive coordinator, the drive to put them ahead late in the game, and then William and Mary comes back and scores to take the lead, and then the Phoenix drive down and score with 4 seconds to go in the game. Tremendous job by the Elon offensive staff and Drew Fulmer. So happy for those guys. My alma mater. Go Phoenix.
Yep, definitely got the hat to celebrate that this week. I think what Elon needs to do is put the a ranking number beside the opponents that they play, and I think that for whatever reason, I think it was 9 times under Coach Tristiani, they've beaten a ranked opponent. The past 3 years, William and Mary has come into that game with Elon. They've been ranked all 3 years. They left all 3 years with an L. Last year, they were 5th in the country, kind of spiraled after they lost to Elon. So, yeah, there's something they get up for those games when they play ranked opponents, definitely.
Trish is a hell of a good football coach.
Yeah,
Now he does a good job, and really, really, really happy with what they're doing in that program.
Yep.
So Trish, as I say, is a great guy and a hell of a good football coach.
Yeah, I like the way he's building the program. He talks about, really wanting to, he said they're a developmental program. He says, we don't mind if you go off, to the FBS. We want to make sure you have that degree before you leave campus. And, it's like he really protects his players. He doesn't recruit over top of them, that kind of stuff. So I think when you go there, you really feel like, hey, these guys are going to take care of me, that we're a family, that kind of thing. And it's starting to show. I mean, they've been competitive every year. A little bit tough with some injuries this year, but, again, you can't count them out against anybody that they play.
No, tough schedule. That's a great.
Right.
That conference is a hell of a good conference.
Yeah,
and
everybody's
CAA is a competitive conference, and there's some people at the bottom end that you should expect to win against, but the upper level of that conference is extremely competitive.
Yeah, definitely.
I am a better person and a more effective business owner for having known and learned from Emily Parks over many years now. Emily's company, Organize for Success, helps multi-passionate business owners and executives bring harmony to all the layers of their lives, from work to side projects, from friends and family to hobbies, community, and beyond. With Emily's help, you too can make every minute matter. She helps you determine what earns your time and how to efficiently accomplish what matters. One of the many things I love about Emily is that she does not impose her will on her clients. She listens to them. That way she can better help them cultivate the lives they want to live. You can set up a complimentary call with Emily today by visiting organizeforsuccess.com.
Eric, tell us about some of the other stories that are out there percolating as we start to go down the stretch.
Yeah, well, for D2, we're getting close to playoff time for our Division II teams. We've got 4 teams that were in the Super Region rankings this past week. This is kind of an indicator of what the committee's looking at. Lenore Ryan was one of them. They bounced back from their loss to Wingate. Wingate obviously is one of them. Johnson C. Smith and Winston-Salem State are the other 2. I would think 2 will get in. It'd be a stretch to see 3, but I could see Wingate and Lenore Ryan both getting in. It'd be kind of fascinating to see a rematch maybe in a later round. Let's see, FCS, basically we're out of the playoff race for pretty much every team. Western Carolina I would say they got knocked out of the running this past weekend. But again, finished strong. Close on a good note. I've seen a lot on my Twitter feed the past few days, Campbell and Wingate picking up recruiting. So I think this is the kind of time, we'll start watching that a little bit too, starting to build for the future. So definitely. And then if you want to talk about offense, UNC Pembroke, they were off their game this week. They only scored 58 after scoring 79 and 60 plus in 2 other games, only 58 this week. So no, they've I don't know what they do, but when the calendar rolls into October, they just hit the gas. And
Who'd they play, Eric?
Let's see, UNC Pembroke. Who'd they play? Frostburg State, one of the coolest names of a Division II team in the world. So yeah, they and Frostburg State had been ranked earlier in the year. They're on a little bit of a losing skid, but they put the chill on Frostburg State. So 50, yeah.
Good job, Eric. I love it.
You got to have fun with the headlines, right? You got to have fun with them. And then D3 football will wrap up in our state this week. Again, hoping for some good finishes for Guilford and Greensboro and Methodist and Brevard and North Carolina Wesleyan. North Carolina Wesleyan had a big win over the weekend. They knocked off Brevard. Brevard was still in the running for a conference championship. Young man Braxton Green hit 3 field goals in that game, including the 2 in the fourth quarter that decided it. So they're on a 3-game win streak. They actually will play the hardest team in their conference this week, but still they're hoping to finish strong as well.
Jim, at this point in the season, you've been talking to these guys pretty much nonstop since the middle of the summer. The message is probably starting to get a little thin at some point. How do you continue to make football fun, if not a little bit engaging for these guys, as maybe the season is going the way they wanted, and maybe it's not? And in both of those cases, it presents some pretty unique circumstances to keep everybody engaged and going forward in a positive direction, I would think.
Mike, that is maybe the best question that you've presented at this point in the season, and because if you're at the upper level of your season, meaning that you're still in the hunt for a championship, the level of motivation is a great deal easier when you're on that side of it than it is on the bottom side. And that, I know that's an obvious answer, but you have to. The foundation of your program is the foundation of your program, and if you deviate from what the basis is of your program, then you're not going to be successful. So whatever you walked into the program saying that you were going to do, and whatever you were going to build, you have to believe in those things, and you have to continue building on those things. And you can't change who you are in the middle of the road. So many people get in the situation where it didn't go year one or year two the way you expected. Then all of a sudden you change in the middle of the road. Well, guess what? Kids see through that. Players see through that. They we look at it sometimes and you say, well, you know what, I can do this. Well, you know what? They're not stupid now. They know where you're going. They know you're trying to save your butt at that point in time. So whatever you come in with, if you don't have a solid plan, whether you win in year one, year two, or year three, is insignificant. Obviously, it's better to win in year one, year two, but if you have a solid plan to build on, players see through that. Kids see through that. They know when you're building something for the future, and they can either buy into it or they don't buy into it. If they don't buy into it, then you're in trouble by year three. I would love for you as an administrator and to react to what I just said. You've been an athletic director. I know from a coaching standpoint, I know that if by year three if I have not seen progress, then I'm going to begin to feel the pressure at this point in time. And you, as the athletic director, tell me how you react.
Well, I mean, I've never had a relationship with a coach where there wasn't a clear understanding of where they stood, and that came through regular communication. And if that's not happening, I can't really say how that would be managed. But a coach should never go into a season saying, well, I've got to do this or this or this, and wonder if they have to do that. You got to know going in, and good relationships, it can end in a termination or a contract not being extended. But as long as there's good communication, there's no surprises. And that's where it would be with me. You would already know what milestone you had to hit. And if you're worried about what somebody is saying in the shadows, well, it's probably built, bull to the ass anyway. And you got to have that kind of trust, because if you don't have that kind of trust, Jim, I mean, what kind of relationship are you going to have with that coach or with that administrator?
I agree with you 100%, and I think as a coach, Mike, you have to understand that and we all think that we're gonna create the miracle, but if you have not made progress by year 3, and everybody says, well, you got to have more time. You got to give them more time. We're firing coaches. But by year 3, you pretty much know that you have made progress, whether you're 5-6 or 6-6 or 5-7, or at that point in time, you know you've got enough good players coming in the future where you can build a program.
Yeah.
So I think that communication between a coach and an athletic director and an administration is so critical to where you go with building a program. And I see you right now, and I think we're 100% on the same page with this, are we not?
Yeah, and I think the other thing is just defining what progress means.
Yeah, exactly.
I cannot state this enough. I find it just absolutely ludicrous. Some of the things that I hear out there, people saying, well, this is our standard, or this is what we should be doing. It's like, according to who? You know, nothing that happened before 2022 matters ever. There is 2 years of history in college football as we know it today. Everything else is, you know, the beginning stages of the Wizard of Oz. It's the black and white version. We've not even hit the yellow brick road. It's just black and white, blind monkeys at this point. But,
well, you're so right, and that's so very well stated, Mike. And
it's not well stated, but it's stated.
No, it really is. No, it really is. And I'm gonna say this right now is when you come in as a coach and you take over a program that has won 2-3 games per year for the last 3 years, and all of a sudden that you're going to win 8 or 9 or whatever. In today's world, is that possible? Depends on where you are and how much money you have to spend. If you have enough money to spend and you can buy the right players and you can attract the right players, then you have a chance to turn it around very quickly. But if you don't, then if you can progress that program from 3 wins to 5 wins to 7 wins, then you know what? That coach is doing a hell of a job at that point in time. So I don't know how much we realistically look at what's going on in our world today. You know, interested to hear both your reactions on that.
Yeah, man, the pressure's on people right now.
Yep.
And the way that things are being communicated and not, I talk to people at the FCS level, at the FBS level, at the Division II, at the Power 4. Man, it's crazy time right now, Jim. It is crazy time out there. I mean, I'm talking about athletic directors and head coaches not talking since midsummer, and people think that that's effective. Yeah, you know it's true though.
No, I know it's true. Don't get me wrong.
Not talking, and then people wonder. I said, wonder why this is, because you guys sometimes you talk about 2 incredible like tectonic plates rubbing against each other in some of these places. You know, big egos and who's really in charge, a donor or a AD or a president or a board member or, God forbid, you know, a coach or something else. And I mean,
well, Mike, let me say this now. You know, as a coach, we got very thin skin. Okay.
What?
What?
Whoa!
When did this happen?
We got very thin skin, man. And you know what? If there's somebody out there that has not coached multiple seasons, and you're an athletic director that has never been a ball coach, what the hell do you know about what I'm doing? Okay. So my skin gets very thin when you get critical of me.
Yeah.
I tend to react and get very very I don't know, very dysfunctional with what you're saying, with
Okay.
what you're saying to me. This is a great conversation, by the way. You know, we as coaches, we make a lot of money, okay? And we can rationalize a whole lot of shit now. Excuse my language, folks out there. We can rationalize away how good we're doing, or whose fault it is, or whatever. But in the end, I'm either good or I'm not.
That's why it has to be data driven. I mean, because it really hurts. I mean, because you get to be friends with people, and then it gets in the way of making a decision that it's not about you and your friend. It's about the kids and about the direction of the program. And if it's not going in a right direction, just because it's your friend is not going to make a difference.
But you can't get mad at the guy who has to make the decision.
No, you can't.
Somebody has to make the decision at some point in time. And you know what, we as coaches, we get to the point where we say, okay, whose fault is it? Well, it's not my fault. Well, it's the athletic director's fault. Well, you know what? No, it's not. He's not recruiting them, and he's not coaching them. We are. So whose fault is it? At some point in time, you have to accept the blame or the credit. Now, let me say, on the other side of that, now, if I'm kicking their ass all over the place and we're winning, then you need to pay my ass, okay? You need to pay me, and because I'm bringing things to the table for this program. But if I'm not getting it done, I know I'm not getting it done. I mean, so we're all realistic about this thing, and it's no, I see your eyes. You know what? That's a bad statement by me, Mike. I see you. We're not all realistic.
We're not all realistic.
We're not. I understand. I understand.
Oh, no, heck no.
But this is a great discussion. I love this discussion.
Yeah, definitely. I think from the, also this new generation, you've got everybody's the media, right? You used to have to deal with, reporters coming to your press conference, harass you a little bit, but now everyone's got something to say on social media. I made one snarky comment last night about Florida State. I'm guilty. But that thing went crazy. Everyone liked it. It's probably got more hits than anything I wrote all weekend, was just one little off-the-cuff comment. But again, you've got that circulating where suddenly there's a movement against you because of, somebody's comment or something like that. Everybody's the media. Everybody thinks they know how to run a program. I won in EA Sports, so therefore I should know how to run Appalachian State's football program or whatever. So yeah, it's a different world. I'm sure there's a lot of weight on coaches. I mean, they've got
it is, Eric, and you know what? And I'm not trying to be a jerk right now, but I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this, and I love you, Eric. How many games have you ever coached?
I have coached 4 years in the Wake Forest Parks and Recreation 11 and 12-year-old boys basketball. We made it to the championship 4 years in a row, and we lost all 4 years.
So you see where I'm going with that question.
Absolutely. It taught me a lot. I learned a lot just by doing that. I was just starting out as a sports writer, and it was humbling when mom and dad come up to me and say, "Why aren't you starting my son? He's better than the kid you started." And I'm like, "It's Reckley. What are we talking about?" But yeah, I learned. I mean, just that little experience. I appreciate what you guys go through on a, obviously at a much smaller level.